Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Joe Adams and you're listening to Slick Talk with Blackstone Laboratories. This is episode 1, so it's only fitting that we call it introductions. I'm going to get started with telling you a little bit about who I am and what I do here at Blackstone. So I am a senior analyst. That means I'm one of the lucky folks who is studying the data and making a, hopefully, common sense valuation of what we found. So senior analysts or any other analyst for that matter, we're not techs, we're not lab operators or casual observers of the human scene. We actually take the time to go through the numbers, and if you are a new customer, then we're probably going to get started by comparing what we found in your sample to our universal averages. Whereas if you are a customer who's done a lot of testing with us, then we're probably going to take a look at what your past results have been, try to get a feel for what the results mean. So that's just a little bit about what the position is. I think people who have even been testing with us for many years, they probably have no idea that there is a position here called analyst. They might wonder if we're all doing the same things, if the same person who takes the bottle out of the container and then proceeds to do the testing and then writes up the comment. There are certainly people in the building who have done each and every job that there is. Not all of us, but that's not to say that senior analysts are people who are not afraid to get their hands dirty. Just for example, when I got to the building, quite literally what I was driving when I came to my first interview was a yellow Pontiac Sunfire 2002, to be specific. And if you are unfamiliar with the Majesty, that is GM's Pontiac Sunfire, then you may not know that those are powered by a 2.2 liter Ecotec engine. And it's just kind of interesting that they are, because it was sort of like fate. When I started to get into the job, get into the training, I didn't know that we would be taking apart that very same engine in the garage as part of our training. I just like to include that because I think so many people might assume that an analyst is someone who has never gotten their hands dirty, never even, messed around with an engine or a transmission or the very things that we're talking about on a daily basis. So we're more than an analyst, we're more than a typist, we're more than someone who just has a cursory interest in the business. So what is this show going to be about? Well, what we're going to try and do is have a theme for each episode. And not every theme is going to be relatable for every customer, but I promise if you keep listening, you're going to find something that applies to you. Whether you're a BMW enthusiast and you want to hear about how we find bearing problems in a M3, whether you are a Subaru owner and you are one who likes to make a lot of modifications to their engine, you want to know how we can track how that engine responds to those changes. Or even if you're not someone who has a particular fanaticism or interest in any particular engine or machine, maybe you just want to know how we look for just general wear patterns, contamination, whether it's an engine, transmission, generator, aircraft, whatever you're sampling. Eventually, this show is going to have something for you. And along with the theme, we're also going to tackle some frequently asked questions or just random questions we come across, whether it be email, phone calls, people writing things on their slips. We're going to include some of those. We have a couple for this episode as well. Jumping into the first one, this question comes from Eric. This was on our Facebook page. And before we get into it, please feel free to send whatever questions you have that you want answered on the show. Post them on our Facebook page, or if you just want to call us, email us, however you can get them to them. We'd love to include them in the show. So from Eric, he asks, what makes the best oil for a 4.0 liter inline 6 with flat tappets and a Jeep Wrangler? The misinformation is insane. People swear by diesel Rotella because of the added zinc, but I don't buy it. So this answer is probably going to shatter a lot of expectations out there. Maybe not if you have been sampling with us for a long time and have already asked us the question, what oil is best? Maybe it's not going to blow your mind then. But I know a few people are probably going to be really surprised by this. So virtually all of what you hear in regards to problems related to ZDDP, which for listeners who might not know what that is the additive zinc and phosphorus. All of the problems related to ZDDP, or lack thereof, is pretty much nonsense spread by oil and additive salespeople. As of the date of this podcast recording, we've got 2,735 samples from Jeep 4.0 liter inline sixes, and we just haven't found a direct correlation between wear levels and how much additive is present in the oil. Long story short, just choose an API certified brand that you like, that you're familiar with, that fits Jeep's specifications, and you're going to be in good shape. A lot of people really obsess over additive levels, not just in Jeeps, but whatever engine they have. And truthfully, you can count on a oil that's API certified that meets the manufacturer's specs to work well. And that makes it easier for you. Just being a customer, going into the AutoZone or wherever you're buying your oil, it really simplifies it. And a common saying that we have is just follow your wallet. If you find a deal on a brand that you trust, a brand that you like, absolutely, go with it. Personally, I'm going to use an oil in my engine that doesn't use sodium. That is not because sodium is a bad additive. I'm going to get that out of the way right now. I like to avoid oils with sodium in them because it's one of the markers for coolant contamination. So I'm going to buy something that I know doesn't have it, such as Mobil 1, regular Mobil 1, not Mobil Super, not any of the other varieties. Don't get it confused. I'm going to choose an oil like that because then I know if I do have some sodium pop up in a test, I know it's probably going to be from coolant because I've been running just, for example, Mobil 1 for years. So that's kind of just the policy that I follow personally. And I think that's really something that a lot of people could do too. So our next question is from Herc. He asks, is black oil really a bad thing? And what are the best anti-wear additives? Okay, so black oil. This is definitely one that falls under frequently asked questions. It's probably on at least 2 or 3 slips that I come across myself just on a daily basis. Color alone is going to be pretty deceiving. Unless, of course, the color you're talking about is strawberry milkshake, then yeah, okay. That color's bad. That means you have probably 50% antifreeze in the engine. Absolutely. But when it comes to just black oil, well, to be quite honest, oil is going to darken immediately when you put it in the engine just by mixing with carryover from the last fill. It happens all the time. People will call and they'll say, well, I literally just changed my oil. It cannot be turning any sort of color. And then I'll respond with something like, well, you didn't get all the oil out. They're like, are you kidding me? Yes, I did. And it's just impossible because unless the engine is turning over during the oil change, there's still going to be oil from the last fill in there. So that is going to darken the new oil, and that's fine. We're talking about a really small amount. It's enough that it's going to affect the color, but not so much that it's going to impact how that new oil is going to work. So if you have a lot of issues, I'm not saying that black oil, a black color, is not also going to accompany problems, maybe excess soot, contamination, the oil has lost its viscosity. Now, a black color might go along with those things, but that does not mean that it is evidence specifically of any other issue. So the second part of Herc's question, what are the best anti-wear additives? I'm not sure if our friend Herc is asking about products aside from the engine oil, or if he's asking just about anti-wear additive that's in engine oil to begin with and which oil has the best amounts. But either way, when it comes to anti-wear additive or detergent dispersant additive, there is not a particularly important ingredient. What I mean by that is you shouldn't look for an oil and choose an oil based on just how much molybdenum it has. That wouldn't really make a lot of sense. So say you find an oil that has the most molybdenum on the market, but it's not in the correct viscosity for your engine, and you're totally unfamiliar with it. You don't know if it has API certification or not, but you know it has the most molybdenum. It's just really not the key factor. The recipes vary quite a bit across the board. It's true some brands will want to use a lot of molybdenum, they want to use a lot of phosphorus, a lot of zinc, and that's okay, but it's really not the deciding factor. There's not a best or worst additive package. It's really, those are kind of things that just set certain brands apart, but not in a way that produces wear-related results. Some brands are definitely known for just loading up the additive, and that's great, but it's not necessarily going to give you better wear numbers. We really find that all these oils on the market, the ones that are designed for your engine, that have the certification backing, that's what we're looking for. We find they all work pretty well. So don't worry too much about the additives. That's the main takeaway. Make sure that you're following the owner's manual first, and really the additives take a backseat. And those are the questions we have for episode 1. If, while you were listening to those, some popped up in your head or you've had some that you've wanted to ask for a very long time, I encourage you, please send those in, either by email, phone, contact us on Facebook, however you can. We'll be eager to answer those questions in future episodes, so send them in and stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for listening.